Moda ani lefanecha. The very first moment of our day, our eyes are still closed. We're still trying to figure out if we're alive or not. The very first thing that comes out of our mouths is Moda ani lefanecha. We mentioned last week, it's one of the hardest things to do if you're not good at it. You have to basically remind yourself, last thing at night, before you go to sleep, put a little post-it note on your Krishma Lamita, that when you wake up, you start off your day with a Karas HaTov. You go to sleep, the very last thing you think about is bitachon, how you trust the Kadosh Baruch Hu. You say, biyadcha avkid ruchi, be'ez ishan va'ira. And then the first thing in the morning, you thank the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Just like any relationship, in any good marriage, these are the twin towers of a good relationship where each side trusts each other and each side appreciates each other. With the Kadosh Baruch Hu, we end our day with biyadcha avkid ruchi, with trust, and we start our day with moda ani. That's how we begin our day. Then afterwards we do our thing, whatever it is, that we get up in the morning, and then comes a time in the morning when we're ready to say our morning brachas. So I strongly encourage, I know that halachically you can argue with this, but I strongly encourage not to say morning brachas until your mind is like ready to focus. So normally we're dressed and we're like, we're not necessarily in our bedroom anymore. We're in a place where we can focus on our brachas, sit down. It could be even after your first cup of coffee, if that's how you are. But now you're ready to say brachos because you want your brachos to make an impact on your day. This is the theme of all my classes. Morning brachos have to make an impact on your day. Jews do not have boring, ordinary days. Each day you are, as the Rashba says, a Bria Chadasha. Each day you are recreated. Each day something new happens. And each day you look at all the little things that you do and you say, I'm going to elevate them. It's going to be something special. So Birkas HaShachar does exactly that. So you have 1 is Moda Ani, 3 is Natilas Yadayim, Ashiyatza Alakai Neshama. So we explained. You look at your hands and say, what are my hands for? My hands are not just ordinary hands. They're hands that make an impact. They make the world into a better place. Everything I do is not mundane. It's not boring. It's not ordinary. It has a higher purpose. I'm building a Jewish home. I'm building my community. I'm building myself. I'm doing things to bring Mashiach that little bit closer. So you take your hands and you do Netilas Yadayim. And then you say Ashiyatza Alakai Neshama. And we explained in great detail, Ashiyatza is the lowest of the lowest. Alakai Neshama is the highest of the highest. And everything in between, man takes and is Mekadosh and gives over to Kadosh Baruch Hu. After that, we say Birkas HaTorah. So it's again 1, 3. The second group of 3 is until Sadaim, Ashiyata L'Kai Neshama. Then we say Birkas HaTorah, which has got 3 parts to it, as we're going to talk about now. Then you have after that, which is next week's class, is 15, the 15 morning brachos. And finally, the final one is the Shema. Okay, this is technically interactive, but the idea of the Shema is, this is the minimum of the minimum that a busy woman has to do every single day. I'm talking about a woman who's so busy, she has no time to say a Shemona Esrei, which is a lot of you. A lot of you are just so overwhelmed, you can't find time to say a Shemona Esrei. You are halachically exempt from your Shemona Esrei, as we learned together the 3 different reasons in my Sefer, which I bring down, why a woman is exempt from Shemona Esrei. If you're busy with your family, raising children, and these 1, 3, 3, 15, 1 always remains. And it doesn't have to be done first thing in the morning. It can be spread out during the day. But again, 1, 3, 3, 15, 1. Moda Ani, until Sadai Mashiach L'Kai Neshama, Birkas HaTorah, 15 morning brachos. And then Krishma, at least the first 2 lines, Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Baruch Shem Kivod Masel Neved. If you can, to say the first paragraph. Every woman, no matter how busy you are, it could be the busiest day of your life. Okay, you're making a chasna for your child, at the same time you're making a bar mitzvah for your son, at the same time you're having a major operation, at the same time you're running a huge chesed project, all at the same day. So if this is what's happening to you, you can still do these major things. There's no excuse to do these things. So let's talk today about Birkas HaTorah. Birkas HaTorah is described in the Shulchan Aruch with very, very glowing terms. Let me quote. This is the very beginning of Siman Mem Zayin in the Shulchan Aruch, and I quote, Birkas HaTorah tzarach lizaher ba ma'od. You've got to be very careful with Birkas HaTorah. The Aruch HaShulchan says, Gedola ma'od ma'od. This double ma'od always makes me think, because there's only 2 other places I know in the Shulchan Aruch that says ma'od, ma'od, and one of them is very famous if you work in Kiruv. Anyone know what I'm referring to? It says tzarach lihisrachik min hanashim ma'od, ma'od. You have to keep away from the opposite gender, ma'od, ma'od. So I always say, why does it say ma'od, ma'od? Just say tzarach lihisrachik min hanashim ma'od. Why ma'od, ma'od? And the answer is because you're always going to say there's a heta kiruv. This is a kiruv joke. I don't know if you understand it, but people say, yeah, it's a tzarach kiruv, everything's kiruv. Or I work with seminary girls, maybe it's leto'elet, you never know. You meet a boy at the Shabbos table, you start schmoozing, you think maybe I'll get married to him. So there's always excuses. So it says, ma'od, ma'od, make that extra getter to keep separation between the genders. The same way over here, when it comes to Birkas HaTorah, there's very, very glowing terms over here. Tzarech lizarba ma'od, the Aruch HaShulchan says ma'od, ma'od, right? Ma'od, ma'od. Be very, very careful with Birkas HaTorah. So what I'm going to teach you today is Be'ez Hashem Yisbarach, from today until your 120th birthday, every single morning you're going to say Birkas HaTorah, and you're going to think about this class. Okay, it's exciting. It's a life-changing class. You feel sorry for all those ladies that had to run out and take care of their things. They're going to miss out. This is a huge new way of looking at your life. Every day you have to say Birkas HaTorah because it's very, very important. Why is it very, very important? So, anyone suggest? So for those listening, just pretend, okay? Massive audience over here. Everyone is saying, yeah, because it's D'oraisa. Everyone knows that, okay? You only have two things that are D'oraisa, Birkas HaTorah and benching. So, if that was the answer, because it's D'oraisa, first of all, it's a machlokas, whether or not Birkas HaTorah is D'oraisa. The pasuk says, Kishem Hashem Ekra, Havagayt Lelekenu. From here we learn, the Gemara in Bracha says that Birkas HaTorah is D'oraisa. It's a machlokas whether it means literally D'oraisa. The Ramban says it's D'oraisa. The Rambam ceased to say it's not D'oraisa. It's a machlokas what the Rambam means. The Aruch HaShulchan says that everyone holds it's D'oraisa. The Shagas Ari has its own shtickle about what is D'oraisa, what is not D'oraisa. The bottom line is, it's probably very close to being D'oraisa. It's probably very, very heavy, but so is benching. And benching does not receive the same glowing description of tzarach lizar b'ma'od that Birkas HaTorah receives. So there clearly has to be something else about Birkas HaTorah that makes it so special. And the answer is there is something that makes it so special. What is that? That's the Gemara in the Dharm Daf Pei Aleph. So you probably don't realize it, but at some point or other in your history, you have learned this Gemara, because this Gemara is very, very quoted. The Gemara asks the question, Alma Avda Haaretz. For what reason was the land of Israel destroyed? So, what's the Gemara's question? We all know why the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed. The first one, because of the big three, Gilui Arayos, Shfichas Damim, Avodah Zarah. The second one, because of Sinas Chinam. We talk about this all the time. We're going to have Achdus, etc., etc., etc. The bottom line is that we know why the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed, but why was the land destroyed? That's the Gemara's question. What? There we go. Okay, excellent. Okay, so Art Scroll translates it. Alma. I don't know why I know this because I think it's funny. Alma Avda Haaretz. Why was the land laid wanton? I don't know. Just creates images of Chinese hordes invading. I don't know what it's just like ridiculous. Okay, for what reason? They like the word wanton because it appears again in Shmona Esrei. Shever Oivim Umachnia Zaydim. HaKadosh Baruch Hu subdues the wanton sinners. So I have no idea what that is. I don't know what wonton sinners. They probably work in Chinese restaurants. But whatever it is, we don't like wonton sinners because of them. The land was destroyed. Okay, the land was destroyed because of wonton sinners. Alma Avda Haaretz Al Shalei Berchu B'Teira Tchila. So what happens is the Gemara has a whole discussion. The Gemara first of all says they asked the angels. They asked the Malachim, they asked the Nevi'im, they asked the Talmidei Chachamim. None of them could come up with an answer. There's a famous Maharal, which would be a perfect class for Tisha B'Av, Tkufa, about what it means that all these three different kochos were asked. In the end, HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, they didn't say Birkas HaTorah. When you read this superficially, it sounds very, very, very strange. What is the big deal that you didn't say a Birkas HaTorah. Because of that, the land is destroyed. What is going on behind the scenes over here? For some reason, there's a connection between Birkas HaTorah and the land being destroyed. So, who does everyone quote? I'm getting flashbacks to when I was 18, 19 years old. I heard this from my Rabbi Rabbi Zatzal, my mashkiach in the yeshiva, Alma Avda Haaretz. They always scream at us to say Birkas HaTorah. They always quote Rabbeinu Yonah. Who's Rabbeinu Yonah? Rabbeinu Yonah is quoted in the Ram at the back of the Gemara over there in the Darim. And the Rabbeinu Yonah brings down what is this huge, big problem that they didn't say Birkas HaTorah L'cheira. Birkas HaTorah is like a regular Birkas HaMitzvos. You make a bracha before you light candles. I make a bracha before I put on my talis and my tefillin. We make brachos before we shake a lulav or sit in the sukkah. The bottom line is a thing called a bracha before a mitzvah. This seems to be, at first glance, a bracha on a mitzvah. Why is this so huge that the Beis HaMikdash is destroyed because of that? Not the Beis HaMikdash, excuse me, the Eretz Yisrael, the land of Israel is destroyed because of that. Clearly there's something going on, and Rabbeinu Yonah gives the answer. But I'm not going to tell you what Rabbeinu Yonah says, because I want to build up a little bit of the excitement over here. Before I tell you Rabbeinu Yonah, I want to ask a question about ladies. Are you obligated in saying Birkas HaTorah every morning? Yeah, okay, there we go. Okay, you should say it with attitude. Of course we are. We're no different. Okay, we shouldn't be no different from anyone else. And let me quote to you the Mechaber, Shulchan Aruch. Nashim mevarchais Birkas HaTorah. Okay, black and white. The Marana Mechaber, Beis Yosef, the Ramah does not argue. The Vilna Gaon does argue. The Vilna Gaon says it's not an obligation, it's a reshus. But the bottom line is that both the Mechaber and the Ramah, by not arguing, which means he agrees, and that is the prevalent way that we look at Birkas HaTorah, women are no different from men in the world of Birkas HaTorah. Are you all happy with that? No, you shouldn't be. Why are women obligated in Birkas HaTorah? You have zero obligation to study Torah. I don't want you. This is not a seminary here. You're all like way past your seminary years, and you don't have to feel guilty.
But we have an obligation to learn the halachos that's applicable.
Correct. So that's one answer. Okay. So one answer is that women have an obligation to study their halachos, which, by the way, is a lot. So I always tell this, it's just what you're obligated to learn needs a year in seminary, because there we go. You have halacha is massive. My Rabbi Rabbi Zatzal used to complain. He knew, I heard this from him a few times. He used to complain that why don't women have in their seminaries a class in Choshen Mishpah, which are the laws of between man and man, about, for example, you should know basic laws of interest and basic laws of borrowing and lending and basic laws of if you want to make a sale, if you want to sell stuff. You see always signs up everywhere. People are selling whatever it is and gemachs and things like that. All of these comes with all kinds of complex halachos, which are all d'oraisa, and Rav Wolbe couldn't understand why they're busy teaching hilchos brachos, which are all d'Rabbanon, except for Birkas HaTorah and benching. And when it comes to all these d'oraisa, there's so much for women to learn. There's a ton of information that you need to learn. That's halacha. That you also have to know hashkafa, because you have to know how to live your lives. You also have to know, Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky Zatzal said that women are obligated today in general knowledge. Why? Because it's a chil Hashem that women today are so educated that they know American history and they don't know Jewish history, or they know whatever it is. They know about they study philosophy and they never learned the Kuzari. So it's just Yaakov said it. Women, if you're educated, if you're going through all this education, so you should get Jewish education as well. If you don't, it's a chil Hashem. The bottom line is once you cover this, you're busy. The only problem is that, no offense, in reality it never happens. What I mean it never happens is that it's none of my business to know where you're all holding in your lives, but the average woman in our circles, you hit 30, round about till your 60th birthday, when things die down a little bit, you're not opening up a sefer anymore. You look back at the glory days. Some of you will end up like my shviga, Zichron Livracha, who loved learning. She loved opening books. And my memories of her is every Friday she used to walk like a dog. She used to actually, she had a business, and then she would come home, prepare for Shabbos, and then serve the guests and everything like that. And then she had our favorite chair and her favorite Askol Chumash, and there it was. And there was that glorious moment. She would sit down, pick up a Chumash, big smile on her face. 10 seconds later, we would be screaming at her, "Mama, you're waking up the neighbors. You're snoring so loud." And this is what happened. Okay, she was to pass out with an Askol Chumash. It's a memory I have of her. And yeah, this is what happened. It's almost impossible once you get into it's it, bunch of kids, full-time job, everything like that. You're not opening a sefer. I don't think my wife would be upset with me if I said publicly that this whole day she will not open up a sefer or learn any of her halachas. I happen to know that she learns 2 halachas of Hilchos Lashon Hara a day because she took it upon herself, the matzav, to go. She knows the book by heart, I'm telling you. But whatever, she's going over it again, whatever it is. But the point is that most of us women, I'm talking about most of the women, when it comes down to real life, you hit a certain stage, it's just not happening. So why are you saying Birkas HaTorah if you know for a fact that you're not going to study anything that day? By the way, also on a purely yeshivish level, it's not a good answer because you're not obligated to study Torah. You're obligated to know how to live halacha and a Torah life. So it's a hechshemes. It's like building a sukkah. It's not like the real thing. It's not like a man is obligated. V'higisa b'yom v'layla. At any given moment, you're not allowed to waste a moment of time unless you have a good reason to do so. So a man has to be stressed. In other words, a man is obligated, from the moment he wakes up to the moment he goes to sleep, to have a cheshbon nefesh with his time. Because if he's not doing what he needs to do, so a man needs to work, and a man needs to take care of his body, and a man needs to sleep, and a man needs to relax as well, because otherwise, he gets like all crabby, how the men folk are. So we need to do all these different things. And then when we're not doing that, we have to learn Torah. So a man is obligated in cheshbon nefesh. My Rabbi Rav Zatzal felt it was not healthy for women to do cheshbon nefesh, especially this kind of time efficiency, because it says it turns them into stressed, into like nervous people. When they're not obligated, they have to learn how to chill, because you have to know how to just, to do itsy bitsy spider with your little 2-year-old, or whatever it is you do, and just whatever, and just you have to know how to chill, or else you go crazy. So, but men cannot. They have to chill with a cheshbon. They have to know when to begin and when to end, exactly how much time to give, because for them, they have this ongoing obligation of v'gisa b'yom v'layla. So there's another answer that the Bir Halacha brings down over here in the end of Siman Mem Zayin, that we're not obligated to say their tefillos, which is the example he gives, Parshas HaTamid. Okay, we are not going to do a survey over here. Some of you have not even heard what don't even know what Parshas HaTamid is. Okay, somewhere in the deep, dark section between Birkas HaShacha and Pesukei Zimra, there's all these weird stuff that we're supposed to say, but whatever, you know what I mean? And then I once sent my dear friend, Rabbi Yosef Cohen, I don't know if anyone had him in their seminary years, I sent him to Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky, who actually davens at the end of his row in Bnei Brak. I asked him to ask on my behalf and say to him, what about women and Birkas Parshas HaTamid? The Bir Halacha says you have to say Parshas HaTamid. The Rebbe Yashiv writes in his list of what women are supposed to say, he says Parshas HaTamid. Based on this Bir Halacha, he says here we see that women have to say Parshas HaTamid. So we asked Reb Chaim Kanievsky, Nu L'maisa, should women say Parshas HaTamid? How did he react? By laughing in Reb Cohen's face. He said, first get Yeshiva Bachrim to say Parshas HaTamid. That's what he said. Meaning, no one says Karbanos. Everyone skips it. Let's be honest. Only really the Frumies, they come early and they say everything and they say the Karbanos like they should. And when I'm embarrassed to tell you, the year that I was saying Kaddish for my father, it was wonderful. It was wonderful. I got to discover there's a parsha called the Parshas Hakir, and there's all kinds of interesting things over there, and I got to study a little bit. Yeah, it's great, but men don't say it. If your husbands don't say it, they're good people. Don't worry about them if they miss out Karbanos in the morning. But the point is that women don't do it. So the bottom line is, we need a better reason why women say Birkas HaTorah in the morning, more than just the fact that maybe they're going to say Parshas HaTamid and maybe they're going to go to a Torah class, when in practice, most of your active lives, you will be doing neither. And you'll
to clean up with their children. Like if they're involved in their children, then they should be speaking Torah with them.
okay, doesn't happen in our house. I mean, whatever it is, I'm saying to you, it depends where, yeah, sure. You know, they help them with the homework. It could be, you're right, help them with the homework. I was so grateful. I have a bunch of daughters that went through the Beis Yaakov system. If it wasn't for them, I would not have looked at a Novi since I was a yeshiva bacha. And so you get a chance to learn all these different things. But in real life, it doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. I'm saying to you, the older kids don't necessarily go to their mothers for help. And the younger kids, you're not reading Torah with them. You're reading Dr. Seuss or whatever. I don't know what it is. What?
Some people do, I don't know.
Okay, but all these some people do is not a reason why you're obligated every single day of your life until your 120th birthday, Birkas Torah. There's got to be something bigger going on.
If you say anything about Torah during the day, then don't you have to say?
No, I'm saying this. None of you today, I don't know if you said to you, oh, by the way, what bracha should we say on this? I don't know, maybe this way, maybe that way. It doesn't happen. I'm talking about learning Torah. I'm not talking about saying something Jewish. Okay, I'm talking about learning Torah. It's a mitzvah on studying Torah. Why are you saying a bracha? You don't have to study Torah. It's now 12:30 on a Sunday. My wife has not studied Torah today. And she works in a seminary. And by the time she collapses tonight after a full day of serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu and building her Torah home, she will not have learned any Torah today, except for her 2 halachas of Hilchos Lashon Hara. Okay, so can I give my answer? Not yet. I first have to make the question even stronger. Here's another question. This question is from the Tzlach. Who is the Tzlach? Better known as the Noda B'Yehuda, right? The great Rav of Prague, who was the Gadol Ador at the time. The Tzlach asked the following question about women. I just want to tell you, everything I'm saying today is actually, this little plug, is in the back of my sefer. And my sefer Rik Shalev and Women in Tefillah, I have at the end a few sections where I show off my scholarship so I can marry off my kids. And there I have a little section over there about women in Birkas Torah where I give over what I'm about to explain to you now. But basically, he asked the following question. What is the halacha? Step back. Tosfos asked the following question. Tosfos in Brachos Yud Aleph Amud Beis asked the following question. He wants to know, what is the halacha in the laws of making a bracha on a sukkah? Let's say I go into a sukkah on Sukkos, I make a bracha on a sukkah, and then I leave the sukkah for a couple of hours for any good reason. Okay, I'm going to go learn. Okay, I'm going to go to daven. I'm going to do shopping. I'm going to go on a tiyul with my family. I come back a few hours later. Do I have to make another bracha on the sukkah? This is not a hard question.
I would say yeah. It's too long of a time.
Yeah, it's cool. What's it called? Remember the word hefsek. It's a hefsek, right? An interruption. You said, okay, so you made your bracha first thing in the morning on the sukkah when you had breakfast. Then you went out for a couple of hours. You come back into the sukkah. You make a new bracha. It's called a hefsek. Right now, let me ask you, exactly the same scenario with Birkas Torah. You say Birkas Torah in the morning. You say V'rech Hashem Yishmerecha, you say the Mishnah El Devarim, so you learned a little bit of Torah, and then you go out, and let's talk about the menfolk, and they go to work. There are men that work. Not everyone has a husband learning in the mirror. The people that actually go out and they work. Okay, they come back, and then they say, Baruch Hashem, they open up a sefer. Do they have to say another Birkas Torah? Why not? The answer is they do not. Why not? What's the difference in a hefsek between going to a sukkah and the next coming back to a sukkah and opening up Gemara and opening up Gemara again? What's the difference between them?
Because there's a complete break. You have not been in the sukkah for 4 hours.
No, you have a complete break. What happens if you're a brain surgeon? You've had a complete break between your first learning and your second learning.
It should stay with you.
The what?
It should stay with you.
But it doesn't. People say to me, well, you're supposed to be thinking and learning. But I'm saying if you're a brain surgeon and you're thinking learning, you are a murderer. Even if you're a taxi driver, you're not supposed to. You can listen to whatever it is, light Torah, if you're driving. But I'm saying to you, I do a lot, when I'm in America, I do a lot of driving. And there are certain types of tapes. Like my personal favorite is like Rabbi Reisman and Navi, because it gets your brain thinking, but it's not going to cause me an accident. But sometimes you listen, I can't listen to any complex Gemara thing. I get involved, it's dangerous. Or to listen to Rabbi Orlovsky, we start laughing and it's dangerous again. So you got to be careful what you do, right? So there you have certain things. But derech klal, people have a proper hefsek between their learning in the morning. Okay, I don't want to say this, but let's say there's a really important ball game. No offense to your husbands, they're not thinking in terror when they're watching the ball game. Afterwards, you know what I mean? They don't, I'm not talking about chas v'shalom husbands who are obsessed with sports. Once in a while, they watch a game. It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. It's Baruch Hashem, they should be the worst things that they do. And then afterwards, they go back and they have a chavrusa. Should they make another birkas Torah? The answer is no. Why? Let me give you the beautiful words of Tosfos. V'yesh leima, the shiny Torah is different. The einem ya'ish daito. His mind is constantly not giving up hope. The kol shah, at any given moment, adam mechuyev lilmoid, he's obligated to study Torah. Dichsev v'yigisa b'yom v'layla, v'havi k'ma yeshev kol hayom b'loy hefsek. It's as if he's sitting all day in front of the Gemara without a break. Meaning, every time he does something that's not learning, he says, "This is just a temporary thing that I have to do, but whenever I can, I want to get back to learn." So his mindset is that everything I do is not really a hefsek. It's just like, if you're in a sukkah, you have to go to the washroom. So no one would say that's a hefsek. You have to get a sukkah, you have to go to the kitchen to make yourself coffee. It's not a hefsek, because you just want to get back. That's what you do. You're not really leaving your sukkah, you just have to go and do something. So a ben Torah, that's his mindset. And I'm going to get back to this word ben Torah in a moment, because I want to expand on this thing. But we don't, at any given moment, we're always waiting to get back. Now, this creates a huge, big halachic problem. First of all, I have no answer to the following question. What do men do who really do not care about learning? They just do it because they have to. Whatever it is, they could not care less if they went a day without learning. What about people that are not into learning? This is a huge problem, and according to the tzlach, it would be a simple thing to say to them, if that's it, if they're very happy not to learn, and in the evening they go to Daf Yomi because they know it's what they have to do, but they do it with the same enthusiasm as they brush their teeth, so then they should make another birkas Torah. That's what he says over here. They should make another birkas Torah. No one does this. So everyone, we're just assuming, is on this level that their mindset is at any given moment, they're just waiting to get back to their Gemara again. But what about women? Women have no obligation whatsoever to study Torah. So this whole thing about v'yigisa b'yom v'layla, at any given moment I'm focused on my learning and I can't wait to get back to it. If you think that way, you need therapy. Or you went, I don't know, some seminaries, I don't want to get into politics over here, but if you went to a healthy seminary, they told you don't have to feel guilty when you're not learning. On the contrary, it's a beautiful thing, it's a wonderful thing to do, but there's no guilt involved. There's not an obligation. You have to feel they have to open up a sefer every day. It's okay. When girls leave seminary, the ones that go to the intellectual, I just had this discussion, some of you know, certain seminaries, they turn into like a torture camp where they have to turn out paper after paper after paper. I just had a girl, the Shabbos from B'nai Sarah, right? She says, she's working on a 45-page essay on the first 5 lines of every Treyasar, and what is the midah you can bring out of it. Some of you, I'm giving you now, I see you're starting to get like all nervous because it's giving you back bad memories of those papers and stuff like that. I happen to think it's a wonderful thing if you enjoy it, but it's nothing to do with reality, right? It's nothing to do with reality. It's great if you're going to become a teacher, so you pass it on to the next generation. But if you're not going to become a teacher, so okay, it's great, but it's not reality. For a man, reality is what they have to be doing. It's what they're obligated in doing. So a woman should really see saying Birkas Torah every time that they learn something, which they obviously do not. So that's my question. By the way, my Rabbi, Ephraim Greenblatt, Tzaddik Zichron Livracha of Memphis, Tennessee. I used to live in Memphis. So he asked this question to Reb Chaim Kanievsky, Shlita, and Reb Chaim Kanievsky said, it's pasha that women do not say Birkas HaTorah. We don't paskin like the tzlach. But Ephraim told me he knows of a Beis Yaakov that they make the women in the morning they learn Chol, in the afternoon they learn Kodesh, and they make the women, the girls, say Birkas HaTorah before they study in the afternoon, based on this tzlach, which is unheard of. It's borderline outrageous. It's like no one ever does this. End of makazeh. No one heard of such a thing that women say Birkas HaTorah twice in a day because they had a hefsek based on this tzlach, based on this Noda B'Yehuda. So what are we going to do about this? So now I want to teach you my big idea. And if it's okay with you, I want to go back to this next week. Next week I really wanted to start the 15 morning brachos. But next Sunday, I really, really would like to go and do this in great detail, because what I'm going to teach you now has massive, massive consequences to your lives, for those of you that have husbands in learning, and for those of you that don't have husbands in learning, husbands who learn, who hope, right? So whatever it is, so you need to know this information, because it's a whole different mindset. A lot of women, they tell me that they don't really understand what they're doing. They just fell into this situation. That's what they do. You know, husband learns, it's very beautiful, and then afterwards they go back home to America, whatever it is, and then the husband works, and then he comes home, and he's a Ben Torah. So what does he do? He comes home for 5-10 minutes, and he rushes off to Charusa, and suddenly you realize this is not so easy. This life is not, you never get to see your husband. So what are you going to do about it? So I want to explain to you this huge idea, but I'm going to introduce it to you from a law in Hilchos Brachos. If you understand this law in Hilchos Brachos, you see it's a perfect mashal for understanding what it means to be a Ben Torah. So let's begin in the beginning. Let me ask you a question. Who here remembers? Well, you don't have to remember this because it could have happened on Shabbos. On Shabbos, you serve fruit salad to your guests. The fruit salad is basically bar priates. In other words, it's top heavy with mangoes and apricots and peaches and pears and apples and oranges and all kinds of wonderful fresh fruit. And then it has strawberries in it. What bracha do you make on the fruit salad? Fresh fruit, you make a bar priates at the end of the meal. Do you make a bar priatam on the strawberries?
You know, whatever is like ikr to you.
Well, I set it up that the ikr is clearly the ha'etz. You don't make ha'adama, okay? I'm not trying to make you feel uncomfortable here. This is like, happens in real life. You do this every Shabbat, fruit salad. What bracha do you make? So you remember this. You learn this. Not only do you learn this in Yosemite, you also learn this in high school. This is like major thing. Hilchos brachos, ikr v'tafel. You had questions on it. Do you remember this? It's like a very important thing. Ikr, you daven, you say the bracha on the ikr, which means that the ikr is the ha'etz, the tafel is the hadama. Now I'm going to ask you a question. You just finished your fruit salad, and there's one piece of strawberry left. What do you do now? Do you make a bar piyadam on that little strawberry left behind? Poor little strawberry. You pick it up, you look at it and says, what do I do now? Do I make a bar piyadama? There's no eights left. What do you say, Rebbitzin? What do you do? What would you do? Don't say I'll ask my husband. It really sounds lame. You learned this. You really did learn this. Okay, the answer is, what? No, you don't make a bracha.
What if you let the strawberries and that's in the fruit salad?
Okay, but then it goes back to, then it changes everything. If it's a strawberry fruit salad, and you garnish it with apricots and things, then it's a ha'adama. It's an unusual situation, and you'd be a little weird, okay? But I'm saying to you, no, the fruit salad that you make ha'adama on because the ikr is the strawberries. Lo shemana d'var kazeh. But maybe that's the halacha. You're right. It could be strawberries and melons, right? We can do a lot of ha'adamas in there, and what else is ha'adama? What? And bananas, all right? And then you can have like a little pieces of apple in there. So you're right, you make a bar piyadama. So fine, I'm trying to make a point. The point is the way that ikr and tafel goes, la halacha, it's a machlokas amongst the achronim what to do with that little strawberry. But the halacha is, the strawberry is sucked in to the ikr and ceases to exist as its own entity. It doesn't have any chashivas whatsoever. And therefore that strawberry, you look at it, you're looking at a ha'etz. It's not a ha'etz. Yes, it is a ha'etz because it became, so to speak, sucked in to the ikar. The ikar took the whole thing over and made it into what it is.
You don't say another bracha?
You do not make another bracha. Go and tell your husband and see if he agrees or disagrees. Siman Reish Yud Beis. There it is over there. Now comes one last halachic question, and then I'll let you out of your misery. The ikar is the miut, and the tafel is the rov. Which means, what happens if the thing that you want is actually the minority? And let's say, for example, let me give you an example. Let's go back to your fruit salad. Let's say your name is Menachem Nissel. You've got a terrible sweet tooth. And you just can't wait to have Rabbi Pearlie's mocha cake afterwards. Okay, you like anything that's sweet, you like. So, what do? You take, what's it called, that white whipped cream, and you zhuzh it all over your fruit salad. And suddenly you realize you've got 55% 55% whipped cream and 45% fruit salad. But you want the fruit salad. What do you make? Ha'etz or shahakol? What do you do now? What do you say? What do you say? You make both? No, it's still ha'etz. Because it could be 55%, but it's still tafel to the ikka. The ikka swallows everything, even if it's the minority. The ikka swallows everything, and everything becomes part of it, even if it's the minority. Why am I telling you this? Because this is the deep, deep, deep idea of what Tosfos is saying over here. And now I want to say to you, arguably one of the most important things I'm going to be teaching you all year. It's Menachem Nissel's definition of a ben Torah. It's not necessarily what they taught in seminary, but this is my definition of a ben Torah because I know that in real life there are people that work. So what happens? Not everyone goes to koil. No one can go to koil. So what does it mean, a ben Torah? Ben Torah, whatever you want to call him. I want to marry, you go in front of the shadchan. Remember those days? You say, I want to marry a ben Torah. So the shadchanit says to you, or the shadchan says, define a ben Torah. Says, you want what they told me, seminary or Rabbi Nissel? I want Rabbi Nissel's definition. I said, when he learns, that is the ikar of his day. In other words, it could be that he has, 2 hours a day in the evening, he's exhausted, he comes home, he spent the whole day in the office doing whatever it is, and he comes home, and then he spends time with the family, the kids, then he moves his weary body, and he sits in front of a chavrusa, in front of Gemara for 2 hours. But those 2 hours is something he's not going to mess with. The most important 2 hours of his day, and this is what his life revolves around. And he thinks in learning, and he loves learning, and this is important for him, those 2 hours that he has. Or even 1 hour, daf yomi. But he's a person that he doesn't mess with his daf yomi. It's like, this is the ikar. Everything else, 23 hours of his day becomes tafel to that 1 hour. Everything, that is what makes him a ben Torah, that this is what's called, with exactly the words, the shiny Torah, the eini miyash daita, the kol shah adam mechuyav lilmaid, the chsiv v'visa b'yom v'layla. I am a person that has to learn. It's like you're studying Torah day and night. Because everything else you're doing is always tafel to the ikka. The ikka is what you're all about. Now, one more piece and then we're good to go. Reb Chaim Soloveitchik says that we now have a deeper understanding of what it means, Birkas HaTorah. Birkas HaTorah is not just a bracha on the Torah. Birkas HaTorah is a celebration of a lifestyle that sees the study of Torah as the centerpiece. Let me say that slowly. Birkas HaTorah is a celebration of a lifestyle that sees the study of Torah as its centerpiece. One more time. Birkas HaTorah is a lifestyle, celebrating a lifestyle that sees the study of Torah as the center of the center of the center. And that's why, when you look at Birkas HaTorah is not just a bracha, asher kishem b'zivanu lilmud Torah. It's not what it says. There's 3 parts to it. There's 3 brachas. The first bracha is lasek b'divrei Torah. The word lasek means Torah is my esek. It's like some of you, hopefully not your dads, but some of you know people in your community who are obsessed with their jobs. They go on vacation, and every time they meet someone, maybe it's a connection for their business. They're thinking always in their business. So Torah has to be your esek. And esek involves to steig, it means hard work, it means a challenge, but whenever you have challenges, so the next bracha in Birkas HaTorah is v'harevna, because that's the rule of life. The sweetest things in life come after a struggle. I don't know if this is true in practice, but they say the more bitter is the trunk, the sweeter is the fruit. So the journey, the trunk is very bitter, you don't taste the trunk. But at the end, you have a sweet fruit, you have an apricot, you have a mango, you have an orange that's filled with sweet juice because it went through this struggle. And then the third bracha of Birkas HaTorah is Asher Bacha Banu. Torah elevates us. Torah makes us superior. This is inbuilt into our siddur, our racist mindset. That Torah elevates us from all the other people in the world. Asher Bacha Banu Mikolam Naslan is Torah, so that we are an elevated people. These three brachas, it's not just a bracha on the Torah, it's the lifestyle of Torah that makes our Torah, that makes our lives sweet, and makes our lives elevated. This is what Birkas HaTorah is all about. And on this, there is no difference between men and women. Because even if it's not your personal Torah, but it's your husband's Torah, or your children's Torah, or your community's Torah, but every single one of you made a choice where to live. You're not living in a secular neighborhood, you're living in a Torah neighborhood. You choose to live in a Torah neighborhood because the Torah of your community protects you, and you want to be part of that Torah. So there's no difference between men and women. The idea of having a lifestyle that sees the study of Torah as its centerpiece connects you to Birkas HaTorah essentially. Now, halachically, it's not good enough what I'm saying. Halachically, you actually have to learn. Because even though what I'm saying to you is written in the Ksaf Sofer, and other people allude to this way of looking at Birkas HaTorah, the Mishnah Berurah didn't say what I'm saying, but it answers the question beautifully, the Tzlach's question. I mean, women say Birkas HaTorah in the morning, so I also live a Torah lifestyle. In practice, I'm doing what the Gemara says, how do women have a connection to Torah? We facilitate Torah, which I want to talk about that next week a little bit more. I want to talk about a woman's relationship with Torah for herself and through her husband, and I'm going to give a class which I sometimes call Yisachar or Zvulun, which one is for me, but it's basically, I just want to take my definition of a Ben Torah to a whole deeper understanding, and I think it'll be very, very useful for you to hear it. It's very motivating, it's very good to understand on a deeper level what we're trying to do over here. But the point is that when you say Birkas HaTorah, you're celebrating your lifestyle that sees the study of Torah as its centerpiece. Which brings us full circle and brings us back to Rabbeinu Yonah. Because remember, I purposely left Rabbeinu Yonah to the end, because Rabbeinu Yonah says that the reason why the land was destroyed is because they didn't say Birkas HaTorah first thing before they learned Torah. It's not that they forgot to say the bracha. It could be they said the bracha. It could be that they said the bracha, excuse the expression, they davened the bracha, meaning they said the bracha without thinking about what they're saying. But if you say Birkas HaTorah the way you're supposed to be, what you're really doing is you're saying the Torah is ikka for me. Let me read to you the words of Rabbeinu Yonah. Klema, shlo hisa Torah chashuva beineim kol kach, she'roy levarach aleha. Which means that they didn't see the Torah that they were doing, that this was worthy of a celebration. In other words, that they saw it as the ikka. What Rabbeinu Yonah means is that people could have studied Torah, and they studied the Torah, could have loved learning Torah, but they also loved learning physics and chemistry and math. They didn't see this, it was the kihem chayeni v'erech himeni, that everything revolves around it. And that's why the land was destroyed. Because how did the Kadosh Baruch Hu create the world? So, histakel ba'oraisa or bara alma. The land is built through the power of Torah. Histakel, the Torah means this way. The Gemara brings an example when a person says God's name in vain. So it says, Ha'aretz nizdazea alei sisa. When you say God's name, then the land itself starts to shake because the land is made out of combinations of God's name that come from the Torah. So on the deepest level, there's a connection between the study of Torah and the land, especially Eretz Yisrael, which is the centerpiece of where the Torah expresses itself. So if you study Torah the way you see it, meaning the Torah is kihem chayenu, it's the essence of who I am, what I'm all about. So Mameel, the land is strong. But if it doesn't matter to you, if it's just a thing that you do, or it just looks good in your shidduch resume, or whatever it is, you don't want to get, everyone does it, so you might as well do it yourself. You don't see it as the centerpiece of your day, that you and your community and Klal Yisrael and the world and history revolves around that 1 hour that you open up a Gemara. so then you're not saying Birkas Torah. You have no shaykhis to Birkas Torah, and Memela, the land is destroyed. So now we can understand exactly why we said these words. Birkas Torah tzarich lizaher bo ma'od. When you get up in the morning, you say Until Sadayim Asher Yatsa L'kai Neshama. You're talking about yourself. But then you say Birkas Torah, you're talking about yourself and the life that you live. You don't live any life, you live a Torah life. What does a Torah life mean? A Torah life means that the study of Torah, not just practicing halacha, means the study of Torah, the understanding that the yeshivas and the chadarim and the shivkatanas and everything we do, those are the secret of the Jewish people. The reason why Klal Yisrael survives is because of our Torah institutions. And the menfolk who are obligated to study Torah are the ones that study the Torah, and the women folk, they facilitate it and make sure the Torah exists. Without them, there's no Torah. Without Sarah Amena, there's no Avram Avinu. So this is the world that we built, and this is what everything revolves around. And all you have to do is look at history and see how it's true. I mentioned my wife is from Memphis, and I mentioned that her Rabbi and then my Rabbi was Ephraim Greenblatt. Rav Moshe Feinstein had two Talmidim, the Greenblatts. Anyone heard of them? Anyone know about the guy? He sent them to Memphis, Tennessee. When he sent them to Memphis, Tennessee, Memphis was not particularly different in size from all the other Jewish, like Louisville, Kentucky, or New Orleans, Louisiana, Little Rock, Arkansas, Nashville, Tennessee. For those of you from the East Coast, don't even try and figure out what I'm talking about. But they're all about the same size, somewhere in the middle of America. And Memphis was Zocha. I was Zocha. Memphis was Zocha, and therefore became a Makom Torah. Because at 2 o'clock in the morning, you could go to Reb Nata Greenberg's house and see Rabbi Akiva Eiger open, studying Torah at the deepest level. That is the secret of the Jewish people, is communities that revolve around the study of Torah. And that's why you have a shaykhus to it. It's your Birkas Torah that you say every morning. But as Hashem Yisbarach, we should be zeicha, just like the land was destroyed through the lack of seeing the chashivas of Torah, we should be zeicha to be part of the rebuilding of the land with the coming of Mashiach. Thank you so much for listening.